Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody who have joined from different parts of the world. I'm Naga Nandini, and I'm the product manager who's working on the purchase order management module in Freshservice. Thanks for joining the webinar today. Let me give you a quick background on purchase order management and why we actually wanted to build it before we get started. Right. So, say as businesses grow in size and complexity today, it's important that you have a formalized system which helps you ensure that your purchases are ordered, budgeted, and fulfilled accordingly. Because without purchase orders, tracking expenses is more difficult. It's prone to errors, and validating delivery reports just becomes a nightmare for you. So it's a given that purchase orders are the linchpins of procurement. And we've heard from a lot of customers that as a procurement manager, the biggest hurdle that they face while establishing a streamlined process comes with the use of disparate tools, and it scatters their information in multiple places, and they don't really aid them to derive the sort of insights that they require to be fully efficient. So with the introduction of purchase order management in Freshservice, we wanted to enable you to have a better service delivery to your customers with a streamlined system to record and manage your purchases and also track it till its fulfillment. Uh, Also, this is our initiative to help you toss away whatever disparate tools you're using and embrace an efficient solution so that you can manage your entire asset lifecycle from procurement to retirement within Freshservice. Today, I'm going to start with a brief overview of the challenges which are faced by the procurement managers, how procurement optimization can actually add value to your organizations, and how relying on Freshservice as a unified platform to manage your asset lifecycle can streamline your process efficiently. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them on the chat, and my team will answer you then and there, or I'll probably take it towards the end of the session. Before we get started, before we get started, I'd like to put across this disclaimer that we do have some forward-looking information in this deck. I'll leave it here for a couple of seconds for you to go through it. All right. Right, so let's zoom out a bit and look at the implications of using disparate tools to manage your IT purchases. So study says that 60% of companies either use no tools at all, or they rely on systems primarily which is based on Microsoft Office to handle their workflow and supplier relationship management. And because of the use of disparate tools, procurement managers face a lot of challenges in the process. And if you're also doing the same, most of these challenges could be easily relatable to you too. So let's take an example of such procurement managers here. They generally, they use a spreadsheet where they maintain a list of items in stock. And this list includes all the hardware, software that's present in the organization, the quantity of the items, licenses that are in stock. Every time there is a request for a new laptop or software, they check the quantity in the list, and accordingly they fulfill the request. And once the request is fulfilled, they manually update the details in the sheet again. So this process, if you look at it, it's very manual, maintaining all the information in a sheet. It's time consuming. It often leads to errors. Ideally, you would want to keep a track of all the products, applications, licenses all in one place, which will basically allow you to place a purchase order based on the asset utilization in the organization. You wouldn't want to go back and manually update it, right? And other pain points that we have heard from our customers, it includes one big highlight was with respect to Maverick spending, where in some organizations employees have credit card details and they make purchases without consulting the IT team regarding the stock. As there is no tool to basically streamline the entire purchasing process, as you see, this can lead to Maverick and redundant purchases as well. Also, when the decision to purchase is made, there are chances where you tend to reach out to the vendors and you collate the codes which you receive from the vendors. If all this information is just stored in your emails, you may have to manually check every email to create a purchase order using Google Docs or something. Since there is no a single pre-structured template or a form that populates values for you, it's again a very tedious and error-prone process. Ideally, you would want to eliminate the use of disparate tools, and you want to rely on a system which will basically intuit you to create an order. Also, sometimes purchases are done via phone calls, or it's done by directly ordering from the vendor's website, and there's no formal documentation for the agreed terms and details also. This again could cause a lot of confusion in auditing. And in cases when the purchase order is created, it is sent via email to the vendor, and since the communication happens via email between him and between the procurement manager and the vendor, the process again is not very transparent, and the team may not really be aware of the potential delays that could happen here. And in some organizations, we've also heard that once the items are sent from the vendor, there's generally another team in charge of receiving the goods, and they check that against the invoice and mark it as received. The items that are received get tracked in another Excel sheet, and once they onboard the items to the inventory, the stock sheet again has to be manually updated. So the receiving team basically doesn't have any knowledge of the requester's urgency here, and any delay which is caused from his end to onboard it to the inventory might actually cause a delay in fulfilling the request. And as the receiving and stock updation are again tracked in two different places, there are also chances that there could be potential parities in received versus in stock items due to manual error in updating the information. Again, once everything is done and you then probably send this to the accounts payable team, the AP team, they are generally unaware of the whereabouts of the purchase origination, because both these forms are then sent at different times, and they'll have to again go through the pain of collating this information. So when you don't have one single tool which can collate all this information in one place, it also becomes very difficult for you to report on the same. So all these problems, they clearly indicate that only when you use a proper tool in place, we can remove all the hurdles in the process. And an effective procurement process will improve an organization's bottom line, and in turn will increase the efficiency. But the evolution of a procurement function, it just doesn't happen in a vacuum. Providing your team with the right procurement tools, it enables them to improve the current procurement process. And that is a very critical thing. So if you look at the procurement optimization, it can produce a host of benefits, and it can add tremendous value to your organization as a whole. From a business perspective, the most obvious benefit of effective procurement optimization, it's mainly financial. Productively managing procurement, and by extension, managing your purchases, it will basically help your organization to realize immediate cost savings by procuring items, services, and contracts at the best available price. Also, a company will be able to properly take advantage of any warranties or discounts that are often forgotten, leading to routinely neglected yet critical back-end savings, right? And a fully functional purchasing process will also allow for better visibility into company spending and budgets. So having a strong understanding of company spending will allow organizations to negotiate better contracts with vendors, enabling a company to take full advantage of discounts that might have previously appeared unavailable to them. So this entire visibility into spending patterns and budgets will basically help your organizations and will also allow them the option to leverage additional cash flow by extending the payment terms and also forecast for the future. So this whole set of information basically brings us to the question of what kind of tool you should actually rely on to manage your purchases. Why should you actually rely on a tool like Freshservice to manage your purchases? What are the benefits that you will reap in that case, right? So in order to implement a successful IT tracking system, it's important that all the departments in your in an organization work together efficiently, and they're able to monitor the asset utilization properly. Doing so will basically help you streamline the life cycle of IT assets, and it will also maximize the rate of returns. Generally, the main components for the asset life cycle, it includes planning, procurement, deployment, usage, decommission, and salvage, right? While companies do designate separate teams for each of these tasks, a better idea would be to integrate departments at some level. Taking this into consideration, the procurement and the management teams should be able to collaborate and take decisions accordingly. So if these two teams do not have a strong working relationship, then it can, cause numerous risky situations for the organization. So in order to not land in this situation, it is important to opt for a unified platform, which basically lets you combine the two aspects, right? To be aware of the asset utilization and also be able to run a streamlined business function. And this is where Freshservice comes into the picture. So whenever, say, the procurement department, receives a request for a new purchase, it can be verified through the updated asset records. Whether it's a hardware or a software, IT managers can generally ensure that, if there are any duplicate parts or licenses not, licenses which are unutilized lying around, they can basically get a quick information about that. And having a thorough analysis of this IT lifecycle, it can provide them such information. And after ensuring that the existing licenses have expired and the procurement department can just go ahead with the purchase, then they can go ahead and raise a purchase order within the system. And in addition to this, the procurement managers, sometimes they may struggle with getting the right type of asset for the right person. For instance, say in an organization, an executive level associate requires advanced tools compared to an entry level employee, right? So in this case, you can basically select the right assets based on the user role information which you already have in the system. So Freshservice gives you that integrated platform for all this. And not just that, when it comes to warranty tracking, a warranty is basically a contract where the manufacturer promises you to promises that they'll repair any equipment within a certain period of time, right? So these contracts are very important, and especially where IT hardware is concerned. Companies pay extra for extended warranties even to to get them authorized service and repair for these assets. So all these documents are recorded into the system and they're tracked for better asset performance. Given that you already have these information in Freshservice, it comes in handy in dealing with the IT equipment downtimes. So if such a case is reported, the procurement team can progress with the spare parts and they can complete the replacement quickly. So Freshservice here, it helps you establish the working relationship between the asset management and the procurement department by being that central tracking tool for you. Also by having by tracking assets over time, procurement teams can also keep themselves updated with the current hardware and software specs, and this helps them seek out to relevant vendors when they want to upgrade, right? So let me give you a quick walkthrough of how you can actually achieve it in Freshservice before I actually show you the working. So today, when you receive a new purchase request for an item, you can immediately check the quantity of the stock that you have. You can go ahead and raise a purchase order from the same page. By leveraging the existing information of the vendor, the location directory in the Freshservice, location directory they have in Freshservice, all you need to do is fill a simple form to raise a purchase order. And the system will, fetch information from the product and the software catalog, along with the prices for you to quickly, select and add the items while filling the form. The purchase order can be raised in any currency unit of your choice, and you can, immediately see the equivalent conversion happening automatically. And once you're done with the creation of purchase order, you can then, move on to the next step where you can send it to multiple rounds of approval from your stakeholders. And they can in turn either approve or reject it after looking at the quotations that are associated with the purchase order. So when the approval link is sent, they can also see information about the quotations which are attached with it. And once you get your approval from your stakeholders, you can then download it in a PDF format, send it to your vendor, and quickly place an order. You can track it across its life cycle by changing the status accordingly. And once you've ordered the items and you've received it, you can keep a quick track of the number of items that are received and the number of items that are yet to be received. And once you've done the verification, you can then add it to the inventory right from the purchase order page itself. And after you've added it to the inventory, you can see a contextual linking between the purchase order and the assets that you purchased via that particular order. You can also, collate the requests which actually caused you to raise the order. So that way, you can, given that there's a contextual linking, the moment you added the items to the inventory, whoever is in charge of, handling the fulfillment can immediately be notified about it, and he can, quickly fulfill the request. So you can avoid the whole process delay this way. And along with that, you can basically maintain all your quotations, your invoices, your receiving slip, and the purchase order, everything in one place. So the information is all collated. And when you have to, email it to your accounts payable team, you can send it as one single collated document to them, right? So it doesn't have to go multiple times as scattered information. So these are some things that you can actually do with Freshservice purchase order management. Now let me, show you on how it works in the app. All right, so let's take a scenario where your HR is raising a request for, say, 10 laptops for your new joinees, and the service request is assigned to the procurement team. You can make use of the service request form as your purchase requisition, and you can actually pass it for one round of approval if required from here. And let's say once the approval is done, you can go ahead and raise a purchase request from here. Or if you think you don't actually require to send it for a round of approval, you can directly click on the associations tab, and you can raise a purchase order here. But before that, there is one important step where you will be checking the quantity of assets that you have in your inventory today. So when you have a request coming into your system, the first thing that you do is click on fulfill request button. You'll see if you have enough items in stock. And if it isn't present, you can then raise a purchase order right from here. So as you can see, it's a simple form which got some default fields here. Like you'll have to fill in the vendor information. When I click on it, you can see a list of vendors shown here. This information basically comes from your vendor catalog that you have. So if you've already maintained the vendor information in our system today, then you'll be able to create a purchase order by selecting the vendor from the vendor catalog. This was one request that we had from our customers. The PO number gets automatically populated here, but you're also given the flexibility to go and change it if you want. And then you select the department for which you're basically raising this order. You can raise your purchase order in any currency unit of your choice. It could be your vendor's currency unit as well. And if I'm going to do that, I can immediately see today's equivalent conversion of that value here. Let's say I'm expecting the delivery on, say, 27th. And then I'll go ahead and fill the shipping and the billing address. The shipping address, again, is taken from the location directory that you have here. Right? So I'm going to go fill that here. And it's same as my shipping address. You can fill the terms and conditions that you want. As you see, some of these fields are populated by default by us, but you can also go ahead and customize it, add more fields that you want to capture additional information. You can do that by making use of the purchase order fields in admin section. So these are some of the fields that we are populating by default, but the GL code is a custom field that we created. And as you can see, there are two options that we give you when you create a custom field. One, is it required? Is it mandatory for you to fill this? You get to select whether it's mandatory for you to fill this field when you create a purchase order. And the other option is if you would want this field value to be displayed in your PDF that you're sending to your vendor. right? So if I'm going to disable this, this will not be present in the PDF. And you can give it the name that you would like to, and you're done. Save it. And whatever field that you've created there will reflect in your purchase order form, right? So once you've selected the vendor, you can then go ahead and fill in details in the item detail section. Whatever item that you want to order, you can basically select them from the product or the software catalog, but it doesn't restrict you to just pick these items in case if you're not tracking it here in your product or software catalog. Or if it's going to be a line item, which you just, or probably a service charge or something that you would also like to add to your purchase order, you can go ahead and just enter a free text as well there. So let me just select some products now. Okay, so let me change it to, so what I'm basically trying to show you here is I've already maintained the value in my system. Just a minute. All right. Fill in the tax rate. Say you have some discount values. And you have, say, shipping cost shown here. And say I just some installation charges, whatever I want to add there. As well, right? So go ahead and associate it. Sorry, have I given a name? Yeah. And you can see that the purchase order which you just created from here also got associated to this page. So any update which is happening on the purchase order, for example, let's say if it's being ordered or if it's then moving to pending approval stage, any progress which is happening on the purchase order can be tracked from the purchase request page itself. So you can see all your purchase orders in the system by clicking on this icon here, right? And you can also filter them based on the vendor, the created date, when you're expecting delivery, and the other fields that you see here. So this was the one that I created. Let me open that. So now that I've created the purchase order, my immediate next step would be to send it for approval. This is not a mandatory step here. It's an optional step. You can either, let's say if the amount that you ordered is so less, and if you want to just directly mark it as ordered, and if you want to email it to the vendor, you can go ahead and do that. Or if you would like to send it for a round of approval, you can also do that. And this associations tab here will basically list the service request, from which the purchase order just got created. In case if you had, manually created it, even before getting a service request, you can still go ahead and click on this, and you can view all the service requests here, and you can associate them to this order. So let me go ahead and send it for a round of approval here. Okay. The ones that you have to send it for approval to, they need not necessarily be agents in your system. They could also be requesters. While sending it for approval, I get to decide whether if everybody has to approve it, or should it just be one person, or is it enough? I mean, majority has to approve this order. Let's say at least one has to approve it, and I'm sending it for a round of approval. I've logged in as Bruce Wayne, so I can directly approve it from here. Or I will, I'll be getting an email with a link, approval link. And when I click on it, I will also be able to see the information of, any quotations or anything that I've attached with it. Let me just show you that part. So let's say for now, I'll go ahead and approve it. So as per the rule, it's enough if just one person approves it. So the moment I approved it, you can see that the status is automatically moved from open to approved. Right. So this is your attachment tab, and this is where you can, associate all the, relevant, documents which are related to this purchase order here. And when you send it for approval, and you get a link to that and you click on it, you'll also be able to see these attachments in the approval, right? So that's one thing that I want to show you. And the next part is okay, so now that it has been approved, the next step is to, make sure that I place the order. Today, I can just go ahead, click on it and mark it as order to indicate that I have placed an order. The order has to still be, you can actually download it in the PDF format and you'll have to mail it. So this is how it looks like. And any field that you've, marked it as non-visible in the PDF will not be shown here. So this is how it looks like. And the next part is assuming that, you've now placed the order and your vendor has then sent the items to you, right? The next thing to do is keep a track of the items that you've received. So I'll just go ahead and say I'll start the receiving process by clicking on this and say I've ordered one MacBook. And I'll just have to fill this as well. Say I've received them all. Let's say in the first go, I haven't received one of these items and I've just received the rest. When I click on receive, it shows that the purchase order has been partly received, but then I can come back and receive it one more time. And now, given that everything has been received, I can see that the status has changed to fully received here. So now that I've received my items, the next thing I would want to do is add the items to my inventory. So all I have to do is click on add to inventory here. And basically I can add, all the hardware items to my inventory, which I procure through this order. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to finish this process. I'll just have to give it an asset prefix. So all the mandatory fields that you have when you create an asset, those things will be listed here. Let's say FTMC, location is in the US. And you can see that these values are pre-filled, like the day in which the date when you're actually marking it, you're adding it to the inventory, that'll be your acquisition date here. And you can also go ahead and change it if you want. Say, I'm going to add it to the inventory. Once I've added to the inventory, here in the assets received tab, I can see that here. So I've just added the Mac Air to the inventory. I haven't added the other items. When I click on it, I wouldn't be able to see that here. Once I've added it, that will also be listed here. So when I click on this item and it goes to the inventory, here I'll be able to see the purchase order linked to this particular asset from which I know I received this. So there's a contextual linking here. And as I mentioned, now when you click on the service request, you can see that you've received these items. Once let me go ahead and add the rest of the items to the inventory. Right? Now that I've received all the items and I've also added it to the inventory, I can just go ahead and mark this purchase order as closed because the entire process is now done for me. And I can go back to my service request. Now that it's added to the inventory, I can go ahead and then fulfill it. So it's done, right? So this is how your, this is how the process looks like, starting from the point where you requested for an item, you check for its, presence in the inventory by, quickly checking the stock that's there. And then you go ahead and create a purchase order right from this page. You send it for a round of approval, you get it approved, you place an order, you receive the items, you add it to the inventory. Now you come back to this page and you're now able to, fulfill the request right from this page. So this is how the entire, the purchasing process gets completed within our system. So let me quickly go back to the slides and let me, explain about quickly summarize, the value add that you have here. So as you can see, you can create a purchase order by leveraging the vendor location and the software product catalog is present in the system already. So if you've already maintained it, it is just a few clicks away for you to create a purchase order, as opposed to, creating a template and adding it in a Google Doc, right? And you can also capture it. You can also customize it by to capture additional information, and you can download it in a PDF format, send it to your vendor. You can collate the entire information about the requests which initiated the order, about the assets that you received through the purchase order, or if you have any quotations or anything that you want to actually keep it collated in one place, you can go ahead and do that using the attachments tab. You can keep a count of the items that have been received, that are yet to receive, and you can then add it to the inventory. Uh, you can also, filter the orders based on the delivery dates. If the delivery date has elapsed, you can see a visual indication in the purchase order list page that the date has been elapsed. You can, associate the request that initiated the purchase order. Reporting is one capability that we are currently working on, and it's going to come soon. You'll be able to report on the purchase order field, so you can get some insights about when you ordered it. Was there any delay? For how much have you ordered for a particular department? And you can get those key insights from your reporting. So yeah, it's pretty much what you can do with purchase order management and Freshservice today.